Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Azzy. Using the Scan and Cut, I'm going to share with you how to make this beautiful bag-shaped Mother's Day card, but a card that can be used for many occasions. So we're going to start with making the closure that comes through both of the handles at the front. So if you go into Patterns, into Basic Shapes, and pick up a semicircle and set it to the mat. We want to resize that into Edit, Object Edit and Resize. Take off the aspect ratio. Want to make the height 2 inches and make the width 3. And say OK. Then we want to make an inward offset. So if you go into the offset function and we want to make the inward offset by minus 0.25. So if you tap on here and say OK. So here we've got both the semicircles that are separate and it's the inner one that we're after. Let's leave that on here for now. But first of all, what we need to do is cut that semicircle out in our Scan and Cut, and then what we're going to do is on a separate sheet just draw this part of the arch, not this line at the bottom, and then we'll scan that in so we've got an image of just the arch without this bottom line here. These are both the semicircles I've cut out, and the inner one, as you can see, I've just traced the outline of the arch only. So I've got the yellow sheet on my mat here and I've got it fed into the machine already. So I'm just going to scan it in. So if you go into Scan, Scan to Cut Data, Start and Start. Okay, so once it's scanned in, we want only the outline, which is this one. So if you tap onto here, and this is all the messy part of the mat, so I'm just going to bring it in onto this part of the sheet with these anchor points. Get rid of all that mess that's on my mat. And then tap onto Preview and say OK. We need to save that into the machine and say OK, and then just go back to the main screen. For the main body of the bag, if you go into Patterns, Basic Shapes and pick up this quadrilateral shape and set it to the mat, go into Add, back into Patterns, Basic Shapes, and we want a semicircle and set it to the mat. So first of all, if we alter the size of the semicircle, go into Edit, Object Edit and Resize, take off the aspect ratio, and we want the height to be 2 inches and the width to be 3, and say OK. And then for the quadrilateral shape, we want to first of all rotate that by 180 degrees. That's 180, and then we want to resize it. So go into Resize, take off the aspect ratio, make the height 4.2 inches and make the width 5.5 inches. And say OK. With the semicircle, this is what's going to become our handle. So we want to do an inward offset. So if we go into the offset function and we want to do an inward offset of negative 0.25 and say OK, and then we just want to duplicate both of those. So whoops, and move that down, and then the inner one again, duplicate that and move that down. But at this point, while these two are together, we just want to group them. So go into OK, select, partial select, take the mat up, say OK, object edit and group, and say OK. So that's our handles ready, and this is our base of our bag ready, but we want to put the handles in the center of our bag here. So if we're going to select, partial select, take this mat over, say OK, object edit, alignment, and we only want to align it horizontally, so it's this one here, and say OK. If we tap the mat, this time if we go into the magnifying glass, go into 400 and just go down a bit. So what we want to do is this inner line here we want to place exactly on top of the line of this part of the bag. So move that semicircle down, there we go. So that is exactly on top of that, on that line there. But obviously if it's only on top we can't weld it, so we just need to nudge it down by 1, and now we can weld that. So if you go into OK, go into select, partial select, move the mat over, say OK, object edit and weld, and say OK. So that's one part of our base card, but we need the other part, so we need to duplicate that, +1, and we also need to rotate it by 180. So rotate it by 180, and now we've got both parts of our card here. So if we go back into the magnifying glass, and at this point we need to just make sure that this is at the top left, those two lights are out, and if we move down here and tap on the bottom one, and both of those two lights are out, so it's to the bottom left here, and that is just overlapping here, which will allow us to weld it, and that's the only bit that's going to be holding this card together. So we do need to use a sturdy card to when we're cutting it out. So go into OK, partial select, move the mat over, make sure that's down, say OK, object edit and weld, and that's letting us do that, so it's just holding on by that point there, and say OK. So now we've got the base of our card. So for the handles here, the outer semicircle, we just want to duplicate that again, so go into object edit and duplicate by 1, and just move that out of the way here. So we just want to layer those two inside of each other and then group them so that we can then place them exactly within the handle area. So go into OK, into select, partial select, bring the mat down, say OK, object edit, alignment, horizontally and vertically, say OK and group, and say OK. So that's ready for the front handle where we want to cut it out completely. So we'll put that in place first, and then we'll bring on the arch that we drew earlier that we've saved in the machine, and then put in the back part. For placement of the handles, if you go into the magnifying glass, go into 400, move down to here, move across, we just want to bring the handles over to here. Right, so from here what we're looking to do is this line here, we want to line it up with the top of the bag. So where this line is, we want to bring it down to where the red line is in effect. So if bring it down to here and sit it exactly on top of that line. There we go, that's exactly on that line. So now to place it within the so-called arch of the handles of the handbag, if we align it, so let's go into select, partial select, move this mat over, say OK, object edit, align. We only want to align it horizontally, and that should bring it exactly where we want it. So if we just go back and check, and that's exactly in line where we want it, and that is along the same line as the top of the bag there. So now we need to group it, but before we group it we need to ungroup that handle. So go into OK, tap the mat, go into object edit and ungroup, and tap the mat. So now if we toggle round, we've got the main body of the card, that's the other handle, that's the outer bit that we want to delete, and this is the inner bit that we want. So if we go back one, that's the one we want to delete. So just take that off and say OK, and now we need to group it. So go into select, partial select, bring the mat over, say OK, object edit and group, and say OK. So that is the front part of the bag with the handling ready. But now we want to bring the arch on that we created at the start of the video. So if you go into OK, go into add, into retrieve, into the machine, and just page down to where you'll have saved it, and tap on there and say OK, and it brings it onto the mat for us. So again, just like with this handle, we want to align the arch within the semicircle. So if we go into edit, select, partial select, bring this mat over, say OK, object edit, align horizontally and vertically, and say OK, and we want to group it and say OK. Again, go back into the magnifying glass. Oh sorry, from here we need to rotate it 180 so it can go this way. So go into rotate and rotate it 180 degrees, and again we go into OK, into the magnifying glass. Let's just move that over to here so we can see it. Go into 400, and this time we haven't got the baseline to map it with alongside like we did here, because we haven't got the bottom line. So all we want to do is make sure that this is actually touching that line there. So that's as close as we can get it. If you do it one nudge more, it won't matter. It'll just give it a little bit of an easier it'll give it a bit of room for the flap to come through both of the handles. So from here, if you go into OK, this time go into select all, say OK, object edit, align and horizontally, and say OK. Just go in and check it before we group it. Let's take that down, and there we go. So we've got that aligned with the handle that's there, so that looks all good. And we want to, don't forget, we need to ungroup that, take that off, sorry, ungroup that, say OK. So again, if we toggle round, that's the main card, that's the outer, well that's the semicircle that we want to delete, and that's the inner arch that we would need. So if we go back one, delete that and say OK, and then group that. Select all, say OK, object edit and group, and say OK. So this is our bag ready to cut out on our decorative papers, and once I've done mine I'll show you what I've made. This is the first card that I cut out to make a beautiful Mother's Day card using this lovely dotty cardstock. I've not actually put anything on the closure here yet, just deciding whether to use a magnet or a Velcro dot, and then I've decorated it with a little flower, sentiment and a lovely little heart. And this is how it looks when it's actually put up. I also made these 3 bags, which are the same shape but from different cardstock and decorated with different sentiments and gems. Okay, so these 2 bags were cut exactly as per the video in the scan and cut, except for afterwards I've just rounded off the corners on this one, and on this one here I've just cut the triangle bits off, and it just gives them both a different shape. On this card here I've decorated it such that it looks like a snap closure on the front, and on this one I've put a couple of brads on either side of the handles like we have as hardware on handbags. This bag here I've made as a card topper, so what I've done is cut the bottom off here, make it shorter so it's like an east-west style bag, and then I've just slightly cut the corners off here. As you can see, they're just slightly narrower than there, and that way I can just stick that on the front of a card and embellish it further and use it as an actual topper. Again, this bag is cut as per the video, and like with this bag I cut the corners off on both sides, and I've also cut it shorter here to make it a squat style bag, and then inside I've just made it so that you can add a little note, so you could actually put it into a folio or a journal and have a little secret message written inside. So that was another little idea for the book, for the card. On the inside of this bag I've created a tuck spot for a gift voucher. I've cut this one from Christmas card, but of course depending on the cardstock you use you can create it for any occasion, whether it's a birthday, just a thanks, just because, whatever it may be. Okay, so this is a lovely bag shaped Mother's Day card using the scan and cut. At the top of the handles you'll notice there's a slight flat edge, and that's because when you cut the card and score it, when you fold it, you're always going to have that flat edge even if it was a die. So a couple of ways around that is either to cut an extra handle and stick that on only, or cut a whole front of the card as extra, and then once you've cut the base card and scored it and folded it, stick that onto the front so that it looks like a full arch on the handle. So I hope you'll give this a go using your scan and cut machine. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.